So today we're looking at a really strong shoulder girdle position for plank pose. It's also the same kind of actions you're looking for in side plank, in forearm plank, and even in down dog. And one of the things I find people struggle with in plank is the weight in the wrists, and often you'll do plank variations and things and people come up and the wrists are being really challenged by it. And one of the benefits of this shoulder girdle strong position is it helps to lift the weight out of the wrists, and it really does make a difference with what you're doing with the whole shoulder girdle, how much weight is kind of being dumped down into the wrist joint. So it can take a little practice to work out how you're getting the weight out of the wrist, but once you've got it, it can just make all these kind of core loaded body weight poses feel so much more comfortable. So we're going to have a go with that today. And basically it's only 4 things you need to remember. So the first thing we're going to... So this is very simplified, but the first thing you are going to focus on is gripping your mat with your fingers like you're Spider-Man. So if you think of pressing your fingers down and pulling them towards the center of your hand, as if you're Spider-Man trying to hold onto a wall, that kind of gives you the idea of really active fingers. It's not just, you know, hands being pushed into the floor. They're actually gripping and pulling to the center of your palm. And your knuckles might lift up a bit when you do that. That means you're probably doing it a bit more than you need to, but that's fine, just get that feeling. So number 1, grip your mat. Number 2 is to spiral your arms. So if I show you my elbow creases, can you spin your arms in and out so that the elbow creases go from facing each other to more facing forwards? And our arms do that to varying degrees, but finding that spinning feeling, and that's happening from your wrist to the shoulder joint. It's the shoulder joint really we want to feel spinning. And we're finding in particular that external rotation in the shoulder joint where the arm bone is in the socket, and that generally the elbow crease will roll to the front of it. Okay, so second point is, can you roll your shoulders outwards? That's inwards, that's outwards. Okay, now when you roll your shoulders outwards, there's 2 things we want to notice. One is, does your first finger knuckle lift off the mat? So you want to not let that happen. When you roll your shoulders out, that side of the hand wants to lift up and come with you. So keep it down. And then the second thing we're noticing is, as you're rolling that shoulder outwards, can you feel this area? I call it the outer armpit area there, sort of the back of your armpit. As you grip with your hand into the mat, press down through your first finger. It's like a corkscrew from the thumb and first finger up your arm to the outside of that shoulder. And if you pull your shoulder down away from your ear as well, can you feel this muscle here tense? And that takes a bit of practice. So just roll your arms out. And then the third thing of our 3 things, so we're gripping, we're rolling out, and then the third thing is pull your shoulders down away from your ears, and can you find it gripping, tensing in this muscle here? And what essentially we're doing is using the shoulder muscles to pull weight up out of the hand and the wrist. So another analogy that might be helpful is if you think of your arms like vacuum cleaner pipes, the hoses, and you're kind of suctioning up out of the palm of your hand as you spiral your arm outwards and tense the muscle here. It's like you're going up into your shoulder, out of the palm of your hand, even though you keep pressing your fingers down, and that lifts some of the weight out of your wrist. As you press down with your first finger and spiral the arm out, you kind of end up with your weight a little bit more even across that base of your hand as well. So it's not all dropping to the inside edge of your hand, the thumb side. You kind of make it a little bit more even towards the outer edge of your hand. Okay, that's lots of information, but basically if we simplify it, you're gripping your mat, keeping the first knuckle down, spiral your arms outwards. pull your shoulders down away from your ears and see if you can connect to the muscles here, okay? And then you feel like you're kind of lifting up a little bit out of your wrists. And then there's the fourth part. So the fourth part is you are still pushing down through your fingers, through the top of the knuckles as well. And so you don't want to be collapsed in your shoulders and back. You're lifting yourself up away from the floor, from the mat a little bit. So your shoulder blades kind of glide to the sides of your back. And then you can feel all the muscles across your chest, across the tops of your arms, and all those muscles at the front body join in and firm up as well. And then you have a really strong shoulder girdle position. It's almost like scaffolding, where you have this scaffolding that supports you, and then if you're doing other things like coming into a plank, you've got that support from your shoulder girdle rather than a collapse down where all the weight ends up in your wrist. Okay, so the 4 things to think about and just kind of keep playing with and see what bits might be helpful for you are gripping the mat with your hands, rolling your arms out into a corkscrew from the first finger to your outer armpit. Pull your shoulders down away from your ears. That's going to help that outer armpit muscle fire up and support you. And then push the mat away with your hands so you're not collapsed down. You're lifting a little bit up, your sternum up away from the floor. And then you can keep all that happening even when you go into a down dog. The arms might roll out to some degree, pressing down through the first finger and the thumb. And just see if that takes the weight from dropping down into the thumb side of your hand a bit more evenly across the edge of the wrist there. So have a play around with that and let me know how it goes. And I hope that helps you to find a way of kind of lifting some weight out of the wrists and feeling strong and supported from your hands all the way up to your shoulders in plank pose.